Hi, I'm Miss Jo, and in this video, we'll solve problems with compound interest. When we are dealing with compound interest, we are dealing with a formula in the form y is equal to a times 1 plus r over n to the nt. The y is your total amount. This is how much you have in your bank account after everything's said and done. Your a represents your initial amount, or how much you put into the bank, or how much you borrow. Your R is your annual interest rate, which always has to be expressed as a decimal. And then your N is the number of times that your interest is compounded in a year. So for example, if your interest is being compounded monthly, that means your N is going to be 12. If your interest is compounded daily, your N is 365. And if your interest is compounded annually, that's one time a year, that's 1. Finally, your T is your time in years. Let's take a look at some examples. In our first problem, we're asked if you deposit $4,000 in a savings account that pays 6% annual interest compounded quarterly, how much money will be in the account after 5 years? We're going to copy the formula down. This is y is equal to a times 1 plus r over n to the nt. And we're going to annotate all of our key information. I see that we are depositing $4,000. It pays 6% annual interest. It's compounded quarterly, which means 4 times a year. And we want to know how much will be in there after 5 years. I'm going to make a list of all my information. I don't know what my total value is, so that's a question mark. I do know my initial amount is how much I put in the account, so that's $4,000. I know that my rate is going to be 6%, which when I write as a decimal is 6 divided by 100 or 0.06. And I know that I'm looking at how many times is compounded quarterly, which means 4 times a year. And then finally, my T is 5 years. So then now I have everything I need to know to put this into the equation. I'm looking for 4,000 times 1 plus 0.06 divided by 4 times 4 times 5. I'm going to put that all into a calculator. So this was $4,000 times 1 plus 0.06 divided by 4 raised to the 4 times 5 power. And that comes out to $5,387.42. Let's take a look at my second example. In this example, you take out a student loan for $6,500 with an annual interest rate of 8% compounded monthly. If you make no payments at all, how much will you owe in 4 years? So again, I'm going to just recopy my formula, a plus times 1 plus r over n to the nt, and I'm going to make a list of everything I see. I have a student loan for $6,500, an annual interest rate of 8%. It's compounded monthly, and I'm looking for 4 years. My y is my total amount in the account, which I don't know. That's what I'm trying to find. My a is how much I took my initial amount, which is the $6,500. My r is an 8%, which when I convert it to a decimal is 0.08. And my n, I'm compounding monthly. So how many months are there in a year? There's 12. And finally, the t is time, and that's 4 years. So now I can fill out all of this information as 6,500 times 1 plus 0.08 over 12 divided by 12 times 4. When I put that all into the calculator, I have 6,500 times 1 plus 0.08 divided by 12 raised to the 12 times 4 power. And that gives me $8,941.83. So this is $8,941.83. Let's summarize. When we are working with compound interest, we are dealing with the equation y is equal to a times 1 plus r over n to the nt. Your Y represents your total amount, your A is your initial amount, your R is your annual interest rate expressed as a decimal, your N is the number of times interest is compounded every year. So for example, if it's compounded every quarter, there's 4 quarters in a year. If there's compounded monthly, there's 12 months in a year. If it's daily, there's 365 days in a year. And your T is your time in years. Once you read your problem and annotate all of your information, you fill in what you know and solve for what you don't.